or Clear Channel Radio.
My name's Rachel, and I'm 10 years old. I like riding my bike, playing soccer, and in 8 years, I'll be an alcoholic. I'll start drinking in middle school, just at parties. My friends will drink, so I will too.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults.
My parents won't really know what's going on yet. I mean, I'll do okay in school, but when I drink, I'll do some things I don't really want to do. So by the time my parents talk to me about it, alcohol won't be my only problem.
Alcohol affects their judgment and their future. So start talking before they start drinking.
My parents won't believe it could happen to me.
For more information on teens and alcohol, and to learn what you can do, visit the web at stopalcoholabuse.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Ad Council, and this station.
This is Detroit's Progressive Talk, 1310 WDTW, Dearborn, Detroit. Listen 24 hours a day on iHeartRadio. The comments, ideas, and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the show participants only. Nothing stated in this program reflects the ideas, opinions, or beliefs of this radio station and or Clear Channel Radio.
Stay tuned for the Medical Marijuana Radio Show, brought to you by the American Medical Marijuana Professionals on Gratiot and Roseville. For certifications, call 1-877-RX-42099. Hey, Steve Greene here to tell you about my good friends over at the Hydro Hut Garden Supply Store in Inkster. Why am I so excited about Hydro Hut? The $200 Mad Light deal. That's right. $200 gets you a 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium bulb, an E-wing reflector, and a digital ballast. That's right, a digital one. Call them today at 313-228-5544. It's Hydro Hut. It's 20% off on your first purchase, but you gotta mention the Medical Marijuana Radio Show to get it. Check them out at HydroHutOnline.com. That's Hydro Hut at HydroHutOnline.com. When opening a marijuana-related business or club, it's vital that you obtain expert legal advice right away. 14-year legal veteran and respected field expert Denise Welcome founded Cannabis Attorneys of Mid-Michigan to provide focused expertise to the developing industry. She's uniquely suited to help your business grow and remain open. And with attorney Timothy McDonald, now provides premier representation on criminal charges, raids, and asset forfeitures. Click on smallbusinesslegal.net or call 517-546-1181. That's 517-546-1181.
Countdown to launch. Medical marijuana.
Launch commenced.
Radio show.
Guidance is internal. Ignition sequence start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Very good.
Medical marijuana radio show is a production of the Medical Marijuana Radio Network.
You tune in to that Medical Marijuana Show. 855-MMRS Radio. Keep it legal, keep it legal, keep it legal, keep it legal. Hey, tune in to that Medical Marijuana Show. 855-MMRS Radio.
Welcome to the program, folks. It is live in Detroit. It is July 28th, 2012.
Okay, Steve is the host with the co-host Denise. Starting at noon Saturdays every week. Yes, we keeping you legal. Legislators and lawyers, doctors and divorce. The show is for the people. Michigan Medical Marijuana, no hassle. We talk about anything, any issue we can handle. Call us up and let us know what is on your mind. And make sure when you do it legal every time. Hey! Tune in to that Medical Marijuana Show. 855-MMRS Radio. Keep it legal, keep it legal, keep it legal, keep it legal.
Okay, I just gotta say, holy crap! The traffic this morning on the way here, at least it wasn't in the direction that I was going, was absolutely crazy. It was, did you see the traffic, Denise?
I know we are not getting home today.
There was a big accident on 96 at that
Yeah, inside the construction zones, there's a solid 3 or 4 miles of parking lot.
It's, I ran into a lady at the gas station who was on her way from Southfield. It's a funny story, actually I got time to tell it, but she was on her way from Southfield and had to come out to the Ann Arbor area, but 275 is closed for construction, so she came this way, and then she missed her time. She was sitting for 2 hours in 2-mile-an-hour traffic. And
Happy construction season.
Welcome to the Medical Marijuana Radio Show. I'm Steve Greene, patient and caregiver. To my side, Denise Welcome, now a sponsor of the program. Hey! That's an awesome thing, Denise. Denise's business is expanding, and that's a good thing in a convo like this.
It is. I'm hiring a law clerk on Monday. So
That's a good...
I'm excited. I've been doing some interviewing, so I'm very excited about that.
Well, what person answering the phone now besides,
No, I have a person answering the phone. Yvonne, my assistant, is good.
You keep your assistant really busy.
She abandoned me last week to go to Vegas.
Oh!
It's not...
Oh,
I told her to have a good time. She's never going on vacation again.
Frankly, I would have too. Also in the room today, Rick Thompson from Michigan...
Midwest Multimedia
Management. I had that out this morning. I just worked in rehearsal.
4M is easy to remember.
It is easy to remember, but I couldn't spit it out. That's the problem.
Say it again.
4M.
Midwest Multimedia Management.
Very good.
Midwest Multimedia Management, sponsoring a 420 calendar.
Say that for us.
And I finally learned his last name via the news last week. Ryan Briggold in the studio. Hey, Ryan. Did I get the name right?
Candy bar.
Yes.
Actually.
Oh, Briggold.
Yeah, that does sound like it sounds like peanut butter and peanut brittle.
Like a Swedish candy bar.
With some chocolate on it.
With chocolate and the fish inside.
Start your own medicated confectionery place. The Briggold. Get yourself a Briggold today.
See, that's way different. That's already been kind of taken. We can't do that.
It's not like the Goonies,
Yeah.
All right, so we are ready to do the program today. With us on the show, and it looks like you're already stacked up on the phone lines. Just want to introduce State Representative Mike Callton, a Republican from Eaton, Michigan. He represents the Nashville district out there. He's a sponsor of House Bill 5580, co-sponsor of House Bill 5681, as well as co-sponsoring part of the Walsh bills, 4853, 4856, and 4851. Welcome to the show, Rep. Callton. Hello?
That would be...
Kenny, can we get Rep. Callton up? There we go.
Hello, Rep. Callton.
And then also State Representative Jeff Irwin, Democrat from the Ann Arbor, Michigan area. He also represents like part of Scioto and some other... It's kind of a strange...
Those don't count. It's just Ann Arbor.
Okay, Ann Arbor.
Don't tell the people listening to that.
It counts to the voters.
Representative Irwin, not on any of these bills has the guy had anything to say in the authoring these bills. Did you, Rep. Irwin? Hello, can we get Rep. Irwin on the phone, Denny?
He may not have been an author, but he certainly had an awful lot to do with the way that these bills have been shaped since
We need our show producer to wake up or get... Oh, we lost Callton. What's going on, Denny? Good Lord.
Jeff Irwin's online with us, though. Hi. Representative Irwin.
Let him put Irwin back on, because he's got Irwin on hold while he's reading. There we go. All right, Rep. Irwin, sorry about we lost Callton for a second. We're trying to get our stuff together this morning. We apologize.
We should be fine. How are you doing this afternoon?
We're doing well. The question that I posed to you, you're not a guy who had anything to say about writing these bills. You didn't co-sponsor any of these.
That's true.
Now we're waiting for Rep. Callton to get back online, and while we do, let me just ask you, what is your position currently on the state of affairs as the status quo sits? You know that we put these, the Walsh bills have been kind of put on hold for the time being at the Senate Judiciary level, and then we've got 5681 and 5580 still looming. What do you see in the cards here currently?
Correct. Well, as you stated, the bills are sitting over in Senator Jones's committee, and I'm, frankly, very concerned that those bills are going to be made worse for patients and caregivers, and that they'll be amended in a way that will frustrate safe and legal access for patients in Michigan. So that's my concern, of course. Senator Jones has in the past, badgered witnesses and made some statements in committee that are indicative of some sort of reefer madness on his part. So I'm hoping that can be contained, and that the bills that were passed under the House aren't made any worse. I think it's important to say that despite the fact that I oppose all those bills for a host of reasons I have to talk about, there were some good things in those bills. I think that if those bills pass as they are now, patients and caregivers will have a greater opportunity to have a fair hearing in court. But I do hope that if there is some amending that goes on with those bills, that we find a way to curtail some of the access that's been given to law enforcement to the database. I think that a lot of patients and caregivers are justifiably concerned that law enforcement might use the access that's been granted in those bills as a hit list and to harass and illegally go after patients and caregivers. And then you've got an Attorney General who makes it clear that he doesn't really care what the voters pass with the MMRS, that he's going to prosecute the drug war as he sees fit. That I think patients and caregivers have a right to be concerned about the kind of access that's contemplated in these bills.
As you mentioned, there were, as it relates to the bills and then also Attorney General Bill Schuette and his position regarding this whole thing. I just want to play a clip from our own reporting out at the Senate Judiciary hearing last held, the one that was prior to the one that they put on hold. So this was a clip from the last Senate Judiciary Committee, and I'll draw something else after this to your attention. Listen to this.
Now, let's see. Senate Bill 4834, Senate Bill 4851, Senate Bill 4853, Senate Bill 4856. Attorney General Bill Schuette does not wish to speak, supports the bills.
Okay, I just wanted to bring your attention to the idea because on the record, at least in this recording, according to Senator Jones, is saying he is in support of these bills. Do you find that odd?
No, I don't. I really have to give Representative Walsh a lot of credit for working those bills through the House the way he did. He was able to get a lot of folks on board, and he was able to get a lot of compromise from folks in law enforcement and from advocates out in the patient and caregiver community. And, I think he struck a balance that the folks in law enforcement are prepared to support and try to preserve. And much of what the Attorney General's office wanted in terms of access to the database is granted by those bills.
I wanted to make the point that if you look at the judiciary notes, the hearing minutes, which were approved a little bit after that, the meeting minutes indicate that the Attorney General is, at least on the written record, as being in support of two of the bills and support of two of the bills with amendments, which at that point hadn't been introduced. So I find that a little bit unusual and odd as well. Are you aware of any condition where they would modify the Senate meeting minutes, make it different from the actual hearing itself?
No, and I haven't followed all of the behind the scenes of when the support cards are put in or not. I think the moment of truth is going to be when the bills are brought before the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Attorney General or his representatives walks into that committee room and sits down and gives commentary. And I think that's going to be when you really hear in detail what the Attorney General's office position is on these bills. And I wouldn't be surprised to hear them say, we're supportive of the bills, but we'd like to have some amendments that make it more difficult for patients or caregivers to present their case to the jury, or other kinds of slippage, like that.
We've got Rep. Callton back on the phone. Welcome back to the program, Representative Callton.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Indeed, we're getting ready to go to break, so if you'll bear with us for just a moment, I wanted to draw to your attention additionally, you mentioned, Rep. Irwin, that the senator had been kind of ugly to some of the members in the community during the meeting, during the other previous Judiciary Committee hearings. I think specifically with regards to Senate Bill 17, which was the bill that was introduced way back in January, outlawing what he called marijuana bars. It was a bill introduced by the chair, Senator Jones. There was a person, I was present at that meeting, there was a person, he really hit hard. He was all prepared with notes, and he was being very succinct about what he was saying, and he had information he was passing on, and asking a question about the senator interrupted him and asked him if he was on marijuana. And the guy stopped and said, look, I'm pretty sure, Senator, if you took me to the hospital and drew my blood, you'd find THC. That's what I thought you were on marijuana. Next, he slammed his hammer and put it out like he wasn't fit to testify. Of course, this is a man who's there as a medical marijuana patient. He's going to have marijuana in his system and probably on him. So I just wanted to bring your attention to the idea that the senator had done this, and then now I guess when you listen to the clip again.
Now, let's see. Senate Bill 4834, Senate Bill 4851, Senate Bill...
You see anything wrong with this? He's not even referring to these as the proper bills. He's calling them Senate bills, number one. And then number two, and makes this change about bullshit. I don't know if he was just on the... Was the senator stoned that day? Really?
He was on the pot.
I'm just, being anecdotal But you're right about that comment, Rep. Irwin. There needs to be some, level playing field.
Earlier last year, he was on.
Got something to say?
Call now toll free. 855 MMRS Radio.
If you or someone you know received a traffic ticket, has been charged with a misdemeanor, drinking and driving, criminal offense, or has had their driver's license taken away, they need an attorney. They need attorney Glenn McCandless. He's helped hundreds of people solve their legal problems over the past 16 years.
My law firm is dedicated to providing quality legal services at affordable rates.
Call us at 586-755-2900. Again, that's 586-755-2900. Call now.
When I was young, I knew something was wrong. My mother would forget to pick me up from school.
Drugs and alcohol may make you forget your problems. And more.
Then she remembered something. Me. My mom worked hard to be in recovery, and now she is here for me. Hi, Mom. You ready? Let's go.
For drug and alcohol treatment for you or someone you love, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The law offices of Targowski and Grow remind you to stand up for your rights. Always treat law enforcement with respect, but if you're detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search or seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to talk to my attorneys, John Targowski and Daniel Grow. Targowski and Grow have the education and experience you need to be successful in Michigan courts. Call Targowski and Grow toll-free, 800-957-1069. The law offices of Targowski and Grow, 800-957-1069. 1310
WDTW, Detroit's Progressive Talk, the medical marijuana radio show.
Oh, Lord! 16 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock. Boy, I'm blowing my own ears out there. Sorry about that. Back on the medical
Enthusiasm is good.
Trying to get our stuff together. We've got Rep. Irwin on the phone along with Rep. Callton. Welcome back to the program, fellas. We didn't mean to cut you short. We had an automatic break we had to hit there. There we go. We can hear you now.
Thanks.
I have a quick question for both of them. This is Denise Welcome. I don't think I've met either of you in person. Hello. I'd like to know whether or not you think this is going to even happen in an election year, or most of this is going to get pushed until after the election. I mean, this is a basically fringe issue for the majority of the public. I know the three of us in here do this every day, but I think in an election year, it seems like a more than uphill battle right now.
Now, are you talking specifically about which bill?
Either anything having to do with marijuana. I just don't. People have asked me if I see them getting past this year. I simply don't. In an election year, I think it's a difficult sell.
Yeah, on my bill 5580 to establish provisionary centers.
Right.
I think that time will run out this year, but I'll get right started again at the beginning of the year, to be honest. I think we'll make it through the House because I've worked a lot with John Walsh on it. And but then it gets to the Senate, I need some work with Rick Jones. There's only not that many actual days that we're in session left, so I think we'll run out of time, and at the end of the year, everything goes back to zero with any bills that are, and every 2 years it start over again.
Right, new session.
New session starts. So my heart's in that bill,
good.
And I'll be putting that in right away, so that way we'll have a full 2-year session to work on it and get it passed.
Fantastic.
Pardon me?
That's fantastic. And obviously we're all glad to hear you committed to it.
Yeah, it's something I feel very strongly about, and some of the other bills, the group of 4, I think those might make it through. I don't necessarily like those, although I did vote for them. But there's some real restrictive natures to them. The 5580, though, is more permissive. And I just want to say one thing. A lot of those kind of look at things from the law enforcement perspective, the legal perspective. I'm a chiropractor is my regular job, and I come at this issue from the perspective of a healthcare provider and how to take care of people. I'm really not that concerned with the law enforcement aspect of it. I'm just looking at the patients, what the patients need, how can we take care of them in a safe way.
Thank you for that.
And that's fantastic. Although I have to say, the main concern that my clients, I'm a medical marijuana attorney, the main concern that my clients and the vast majority of the people I speak to is the cards, the patient information going on the lien system. They're by far the most concerned about that. And it's interesting because since the People versus King decision, clarifying the fact that you don't really need to be a registered patient with the state to have the protections of the Medical Marijuana Act. I'm wondering whether or not that's even a useful provision anymore.
Well, it's interesting. I've heard a lot of people saying they're not going to get cards now, and even, I don't know if you know Ken Byer with the Michigan Testing Authority, but he wants to create a parallel card system where they can have some kind of card to identify themselves as the police come, but something where their information is not registered from the state. One thing that disturbs me about all that is, you know, even at my chiropractic office, patients have privacy that's protected by HIPAA.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I really object to, you know, I understand that it's good to register people so that you know who's got it, but for people to go into it when they have no reason to look at it just to fish for people, I'm very against.
Yeah, it's
talking about the abuses of the
I mean, people who are arguing that you need a card to prove that you have a Schedule I controlled substance in your possession point to the fact that, well, you know, there's a very large FDA and DEA database for prescription medicine. Well, that's great, but that is very strictly controlled by HIPAA. And, you know, with the pharmaceutical industry, and this particular card, it's really not. And I think it's a really valid privacy issue to make people carry around a card telling everyone else that they have, you know, they have this need for this medication. I think it's a privacy issue. So.
Well, and it's, I was speaking in Birmingham the other night, and I really feel bad for what's going on. There's about 30 people in the audience, and I asked people, how many people in this audience have been arrested, you know, for, you know, trying to use medical marijuana with the rights that you supposedly got under the MMA. And there was about 6 people that were arrested, and then how many are worried about being arrested, I asked, and I would say 2/3 of the audience raised their hands, and I don't think it was supposed to be that way.
You're right. That is never the intention of the voters, Representative.
Yeah, and so a lot of these people, and it's too bad, but they're somewhat frightened. They're frightened about their taking the medicine that they need to feel better. They're frightened about being arrested, and I think that's just wrong.
And so they don't get certified, and they don't get a card, and then they get caught, and then they are already in trouble because they're afraid of being, you know, public. It's simply tragic.
And they have no Section 8 defense because they haven't received their recommendation prior to their encounter with law enforcement. So because of that, they are now stuck being treated like regular drug dealers back in 2007.
And it's really difficult because there's nothing on the state website where people who don't have access to this radio show or an expert or an attorney in the field, just, you know, Joe citizen out there, doesn't really have any really good access to information, and the state website doesn't reflect the current law or the current state of law. When you get on the state medical marijuana program website, you're looking at the law 3 years ago. And it's that to me has got to be the most disturbing thing, because fully half of the people that call my office really are not up to date on the law and the rights.
Rep. Irwin, how are you meeting with people to help address this issue on either side? Are you holding meetings with your constituents about this? Obviously, you've done this in the past. Are you continuing to do this, or are you pretty settled out with where things are at?
You know, I think we've had a number of meetings here in Arbor with both patients and caregivers to talk about, you know, how they see these laws as they were developing through the process. You know, I think that the last meeting I had with a group similar to that was on the heels of the House passing all of those bills. So, you know, really the activity and conversation here locally has died down a bit since those bills moved out of the House. And, you know, I suspect that if those bills do get moving again after the election, looking for that conversation starting again in Ann Arbor about, where those bills are, how we can improve them, and how they come out of the Senate.
Well, I'll ask this for both of you guys. Do you think the recent Supreme Court rulings, which came down after these bills were voted on at the House level, have changed the minds of the legislators either way on how to handle this issue?
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I think it will have some effect. I'm not sure how it's going to shake out. I really want to see the result of McQueen at the Supreme Court level. I think that one would really have an effect.
We have oral arguments coming up this fall on McQueen, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah, I would agree with what Callton. The McQueen case is going to be pretty important for, providing some guidance on particularly the dispensary or the provisioning center issue. With respect to the other issues, the King case and others, I think that really the result of those court cases was a validation of the work that the House did. The courts seem to come down in a pretty similar place as, we're trying to codify with the bills that went through earlier this year.
Well, the Supreme Court said that the attitude that had been taken previously was internally inconsistent with the message sent by the voters in 2008. I think,
exactly.
Right, internally inconsistent. Sometimes you can interpret that as some of the bills coming out of the House. I know, Representative Irwin, that you voted against those bills in committee, and congratulations and thank you to you on that. But some of those attitudes that were reflected in those bills, 4834 specifically, certainly embodies the internally inconsistent attitude that was expressed by the Supreme Court, not necessarily embracing patients' concerns. Just a little.
I think it's important to say that those bills, there's some good parts and there's some bad parts, and the parts that stipulate how patients and caregivers can engage in growing outdoors and what the rules are for that. I think the clarification that the court provided and that the legislation provides is very positive. Mm-hmm. The clarification in the legislation around the access that patients have to a defense is incredibly important and very positive. And I think that the access to the database is troubling and, could really be used to frustrate state and legal access. So there's some good there and there's some bad there. And if I was to say one more thing about recent court cases, I would say that the thing that really stands out to me is a recent court case that basically stipulated that if an individual has any amount of THC or metabolites thereof in their system, they can be charged with and convicted of impaired driving. That was a real blow to safe and legal access, and it was a real blow to sane criminal justice in Michigan. Because if you've got someone who's a patient who may have taken their medicine, weeks ago, they're still going to have some THC in their system even weeks after taking marijuana. And so to say that person is driving impaired because they took marijuana as a medicine weeks ago, it's just wrong. And we need to do something in the legislature to correct that mistake.
Our guests this afternoon on the program are Representative Jeff Irwin from Ann Arbor and Representative Mike Callton from Eaton County area.
I'm actually from Berrien County.
Berrien County, I'm sorry.
Nashville, Berrien County, right?
My mistake.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me.
Berrien County. It's two different counties.
Yes.
County.
You are correct about that. I stand corrected. Thank you. If you want to ask a question of either of the representatives, the telephone number to call is 248-848-1310. That's 248-848-1310. We've got a caller on the line now. This is Kevin Spittler. He's from MedJoint. Is a dispensary out in the Kalamazoo area. Welcome to the program, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing, gentlemen?
Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, I've met Mr. Callton a few different times. I don't think I've ever met Mr. Irwin, and I'd like to invite you to come by my facility sometime and take a little tour if you're ever out in the area of Kalamazoo County. To start out. I'm calling because I keep hearing about all these laws. I keep hearing about Mitt Romney. I keep hearing all this stuff. And all of it comes back to a recent documentary a gentleman named Ken Bayer showed me. It was called The Rotten of Desire. And basically, it's something real small, something real sweet and short. Way back in the day, when we settled here, apples were originated out in the Asian mountains, right? And to get them apples here, those had to be brought by seed. And when you grow an apple tree by seed, it almost predominantly produces a very sour apple tree. So when these seeds were brought here, everybody was growing sour apple trees, and they weren't eating apples because they were sour. So we started making hard cider. Okay? Next thing you know, the whole community everywhere, everybody's getting drunk and everybody's getting pissed off. The old conservatives and not like that. So we started cutting apple trees down everywhere. You know, they hated the apples. And then all of a sudden... Because it was making people drunk is what you're saying, Kevin. The apples were making people drunk. It's the evil apple tree. Right. So then all of a sudden they found a sweet apple tree all of a sudden that grew some seed. An odd one. And they took a bite out of it. It was so good. All of a sudden they're cloning these sweet apple trees, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, we have a loved apple again. So what we're doing, since the 30s, we've been stuck on the sour apple of marijuana. All right? And I think it's time to change that. We've got to find the sweet apple of marijuana. And I think I found that by giving away the topical oils, the ways of using marijuana as medicine without getting high. You know, and I think we got to promote that across the state harder and harder. We got bars of soap people can use. You can't get high off of. No. So Kevin, your point is that there are other ways to treat ailments without getting stoned, and that this is something that some of the people have an opposition to. Hey, it might be curing your illness, but you're also busy getting high. They're opposed for that reason. And you're saying that doesn't have to be that way. That's what you're saying. I want to be thinking about that. We got to find the sweet apple, and when the public realizes there is... Kevin, can you let the representative's response? We've heard your side of this. Beautiful. Yeah, I just want to respond to Kevin, because I think Kevin is right, and it's genius, Kevin. Like with the lawmakers, whenever someone's, coming in to talk with you about medical marijuana, you have this stereotype that you think it's going to be this get high coming in, and they're going to have a tie-dye shirt and this and that. And I met a woman, and I thought that way, and I met this woman that totally blew my mind and made me think differently. It was a 75-year-old, sweet little old lady. White hair with a little, with a dress. And she had Parkinson's, very shaky hand, a lot of tremor, and her head was shaking because of the tremor. And she basically told me she takes a candy. And this, helps her enough where she's able to sleep. And it really blew out of the water the way I thought about medical marijuana users. She's not getting high. And that, I think, really is a game changer. I agree with Kevin. That's a game changer. That's the sweet apple. Yes, that's the sweet apple. And I think when you see people that are using maybe oils, or they're smokeless, or where they're not getting high, and I think Kevin sent me an article that, you know, he sent this to you, Kevin, an article that in Israel they've developed a high-free marijuana. Yeah, for us now, was it Israel, I think it was? Yeah, and that takes away any supposition that it could be recreational and puts the focus on the medical. I can tell you there's a number of people, including myself here just in the state, that are breeding, well, I didn't develop it, but I'm currently growing a variety of marijuana that is mostly CBD-based. It's got hardly any THC in it, and I can tell you I've tested this, and it doesn't get you stoned at all.
It works on your muscles, not necessarily on your head, right?
When you can make available this medicine with no side effects. And granted, the side effects at some point, when you're at home, might be beneficial, but a lot of us have to go to work. A lot of us have a job. We can't run around with the side effect of being high and do our job. But if we can use topical oils and rub it on our back, rub it on our knees, our knuckles, because they're so swollen, because of a high-pressure system moving in, and not get high, that's what a better quality of life is, and that's what that sweet apple that we found so many years ago, and we've been avoiding it with marijuana, and it's time to, as a movement, to show the public there is a sweet apple to this.
Thank you for your call, Kevin.
I think something that we talked about with Representative Callton on the last show, too, is that there are a lot of other uses for the cannabis and the hemp plant altogether. Thanks, Stu. And that the 5580 is so vitally important because it's hopefully going to keep manufacturing and tax base in Michigan, as opposed to letting a lot of outside big boxes and big companies come in and start using Michigan as its, as it's, I don't know.
Well, 5681 sort of provides a vehicle for some of those outside influences to come in to establish businesses in the state that aren't necessarily intended or originating in the state.
Certainly, and I think it's super clear that I think we have some very, very good evidence already of how well marijuana, cannabis, and hemp can do for Michigan's manufacturing base if we do it correctly. Mm-hmm. And, keeping it here, taxing it, inspecting it, licensing it, and making sure that the financial and economic benefits stay in Michigan.
One of the great things we can do is tell all of our listeners about Representative Callton's fundraiser this evening. If somebody that's listening would love to come and talk to the representative, he's got an opportunity.
Gentlemen, how long do you have on the telephone here? Because as memory serves, one of you might have to leave early. Are you guys okay to go to the top of the hour, or where are you guys going to go before that?
I actually need to leave in about 8 minutes. I have to attend a fair and then go to another function. But I did want to, as far as expand my...
You gotta go quick because we're getting ready to go to break. Gotta see in like 15 seconds.
Okay, well, this evening, if anyone wants to come at the OM of Ann Arbor, having a fundraiser, starts at 7. It's going to be great. Talk to Mark Tennessee. I don't have his number on me right now.
That's okay. Stand by. I want to make sure you get your promotion on this fundraiser. Stand by. We'll be right back on the Medical Marijuana Radio Show.
The Medical Marijuana Radio Network.
If you or someone you know received a traffic ticket, has been charged with a misdemeanor, drinking and driving, criminal offense, or has had their driver's license taken away, they need an attorney. They need attorney Glenn McCandless. He's helped hundreds of people solve their legal problems over the past 16 years.
Our law firm is dedicated to providing quality legal services at affordable rates.
Call us at 586-755-2900. Again, that's 586-755-2900. Call now.
Hey, Steve Greene here for the Medical Marijuana Certifications at AMMP. They're the American Medical Marijuana Professionals. You'll find them just north of Utica Road on Gratiot in Roseville. Their address is 28349. Now, call-ins are welcome, but you're better off calling for an appointment. They have a toll-free number, 877-RX-420-99. That's 877-RX-420-99 for American Medical Marijuana Professionals. That's AMMP on Gratiot in Roseville. When opening a marijuana-related business or club, it's vital that you obtain expert legal advice right away. 14-year legal veteran and respected field expert Denise Welcome founded Cannabis Attorneys of Mid-Michigan to provide focused expertise to the developing industry. She's uniquely suited to help your business grow and remain open. And with attorney Timothy McDonald, now provides premier representation on criminal charges, raids, and asset forfeitures. Click on smallbusinesslegal.net or call 517-546-1181. That's 517-546-1181. Hey, Steve Greene here to tell you about my good friends over at the Hydro Hut Garden Supply Store in Inkster. Why am I so excited about Hydro Hut? The $200 Mad Light deal. That's right. $200 gets you a 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium bulb, an E-wing reflector, and a digital ballast. That's right, a digital one. Call them today at 313-228-5544. It's Hydro Hut. It's 20% off of your first purchase, but you gotta mention the Medical Marijuana Radio Show to get it. Check them out at hydrohutonline.com. That's Hydro Hut at hydrohutonline.com.
1310 WDTW Detroit's Progressive Talk. Medical Marijuana Radio Show.
Back on the program, we cut you short because of the break. I just wanted to make sure you had a chance to promote your fundraiser out at Home of Medicine this evening or this afternoon at Ann Arbor. Can you tell us when it starts?
It's at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's going to be a pretty nice event. Mark Tennessee is the host, and he's got a great job. He's got some chefs that are doing the cooking, and he's got a jazz band. And that's just a really neat place. So it's going to be a nice evening. I'm really looking forward to it.
Can people still go to it if they want to? And how much is it?
Basically, right now it is $200 per person, $300 per couple. So it is kind of pricey. But definitely if someone wants to talk to me, they don't have to go there and pay that kind of price. I'm available to talk to.
And you're raising some money for a PAC?
Yeah, raising money for my PAC is the Callton Action Fund. And that is money that isn't used for myself. It's money that we use to get to other legislators and to some extent try to influence them. And that's my intention with them. Well, the whole discussion is I really think medical marijuana needs to get its own PAC. And eventually, start contributing large amounts of that and then using that to support legislators that believe the way they believe. And I really believe if the medical marijuana community, with its over 150,000 users got together, could potentially be one of the biggest lobbies in Lansing if they can get everyone pointed in the same direction.
I agree.
Magic words, everyone pointed in the same direction. That we're all trying to do that. And I'm speaking for, I think, everyone in the medical marijuana community, have been trying to work toward that for a solid year now, and hopefully it will be solidifying soon.
And just to give an address on that event this evening, it's at 112 South Main Street, Ann Arbor, and you can call 734-369-8255 for directions or for more information.
That's correct.
So we didn't want to keep you tied up from your events. You're a busy guy. Apparently Rep is too, but he's got a few more minutes to spend on the show, yes?
Yeah, I can think of one.
Okay, very well, thank you. Representative Callton, anything you want to say before you go? Do you have any questions for Rep. Irwin, or is there anything else we can clear up?
I don't have any questions. I get to talk to Representative Irwin, and we've had some discussion on this already. He helped me with some ideas for 5580. I do want to say something about, I'm sorry, but I always get the numbers wrong on the latter bill that has to do with a time when, say, marijuana is not Schedule 1 anymore.
5681.
5681, and I tell you, there are already some outside suitors that are waiting for perhaps a day when marijuana is not Schedule 1 anymore. Prairie Plants Systems out of Canada, and they are the provider for Canada. And they have a subsidiary, Subterra, and they have a mine up in the UP that they grow some medical botanicals in. But they have an interest. And also, I got a call, I can't remember the name of the company, but they are also a company that grows medical botanicals, and talked about, if this law changes a bit, or as far as the Schedule 1 changes, they more up the style to get old warehouses and do hydroponic growing with stacks and stacks of levels of growing their plants. That's how they grow their medical botanicals. Now, Prairie Plants has a style of growing down in mines. They've got a mine up in Manitoba, and they've got the mine up in the UP here. And a lot of that has to do with the medical botanicals they use right now. They do a bit of genetic splicing and to keep the stuff from contaminating other plants.
And no doubt they're patenting it as well. So, the thing that worries me is the Canada part. Not that I have anything, particularly against Canada, but I'd really like to see some legislation pass before we are absolutely inundated with outside businesses.
Protect the economic opportunities for Michigan entrepreneurs and prevent that outside.
And the manufacturing base.
And I would say that if we're going to allow big business in to come in and bully people around, because that's certainly what they're going to do with their big money. That's exactly what they're going to do, is push their way around, and that's the free market. That's what happens when you have commerce going on. But before we let big business in like that, I want to make sure that there's some kind of protections for the people that did all the hard political work to get this done in the first place, and that's the patients and the caregivers of this state. I would want to make sure that this is not used as an excuse to dismantle our current system, because that's exactly what they'll do in the future, saying this system is better, we no longer have the need for this, it supersedes it.
And that's what we're all afraid of with 5681, that the existing caregiver system would be dissolved in favor of a commercial system.
I have concerns, especially since a lot of your caregivers have frontiered this in Michigan, have gone to jail.
That's right.
Have had your property confiscated and liquidated.
They paid the political price for getting this politically changed.
And then some laws change, and I don't know how you stop the free market, but they come in and they want to make the money.
I think the free market is what we're fighting for. What we don't want to see is us having to, try to grow your own tobacco right now and sell it in Michigan, it's the free market that I think we want to protect in Michigan. We just want people to be able to continue to grow and market their own marijuana at their own dispensaries after this. I don't think we ever want to get to a day, I certainly don't, where you have to drive through Walmart and get your crappy
businesses with a competitive
marijuana prescription.
Well, I think the monkey wrench in the gears here is the idea that they would get special positioning. They'll get Schedule 1, Schedule 2 positioning, or Schedule 3 positioning.
For their pharmaceutical grade, quote-unquote.
Right, whereas the other guys are still Schedule 1, and you guys got to suffer the ramifications of the police if they want to come and bully you around.
Regardless of whether it's genetically exact.
I think it's just a dichotomy inside of a system. It's okay for you guys, but it's not. These guys have money and they're giving us money, so we're going to pay attention to those guys.
I think it's clear that big business and big pharmacy is positioning themselves to get to a point where they're ready the minute this hits Schedule 2 to take over. And that's, when people tell me, oh, it might be Schedule 2, I'm pretty ambivalent about it.
I'm pretty frightened about it, actually, because that means that all of us that are currently growing medicine that's considered Schedule 1 are no longer going to be allowed to do that.
Yeah, because you're going to have to be, I just tell my clients to go get a pharmacy license quickly.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the thing, because the big money's in the way they're going to set up these kinds of, this is administratively how they end up handling this. Well, we're going to charge people $20,000 for an application for a license, and it's non-refundable. The guys are the only guys that are equipped to come up with that kind of application fee, expecting that they can wholeheartedly be dismissed of their application and keep the money, is big business.
And I think today, particularly in today's economy, when you see businesses, small businesses in particular, not getting support and getting priced out and costed out of the market by big companies who have the purchasing power that a small business does not. I think everyone's absolutely frightened of this because this is a potentially enormous manufacturing and tax base for Michigan.
With small businesses booming in 82 different counties in the state of Michigan, to eliminate all of those individual economic success stories in favor of a few.
Not to mention my law professor.
I was just going to bring that up. When you've got all this diversity happening, I think diversity, just like it's good for the species, just like it's good for people,
correct.
It's good for the marketplace.
The number one generator of jobs in Michigan.
And the small businesses create the jobs, not the big companies who are sucking all the energy and the money out of the system and then just being there by themselves, king and god of the world in their little market.
I got to do one thing before I go, because I got to go.
Okay.
I did meet one-on-one with Brett Zeddy, who is the president and CEO of Plan Systems, to express these very concerns. I met with him up in the UP. And, and I don't call this big pharma. I mean, I call it big marijuana. You all have little marijuana. I call this big marijuana. Right. They don't seem to have roots in with like Pfizer or Merck or anything like that. This company seems to emerge from the biotech industry, and their real love is for genetic manipulation to create medicines, and they kind of are doing this on the side for money. I didn't get the sense that their heart and soul is marijuana. They just see it as
it's a revenue stream.
Yeah, they see it as a revenue stream. They're actually stunned that they got the contract with Canada, because over 100 companies applied, but Canada really liked the way that they're underground like that, in caves, and also they're very well educated there. These people were talking to me, they take segments of genes and insert it into DNA.
They're biotechnologists.
That happens a lot nowadays.
And I think that's what really appealed to Canada and why over 100 bidders lost out to this company. So their heart's not in it. And if you actually look at the program they have in Canada, I think, and the reason I'm bringing this up, I think the diversity of our individual caregivers will do well, because they only offer one strain, and you only get one amount. They call it their program. Every 6 weeks by courier, they send 2 ounces in 2 silver foil packets of their one strain, and that's why they only appeal to 10% of the Canadian.
And that's all we ever really
That's an absolute shame.
That's a sad commentary, because that means that they're simply not appropriate for the Michigan market. We have
they're simply not appropriate for medical marijuana patients because they have a significant, difference in needs.
Well, and that's why I think, they'll take a certain part of the market, but they're just going for, I think, the kind of money that's easy to make. The Henry Ford, any color as long as it's black. They will produce that, and they'll make a lot of that, and they'll appeal to a certain part of the market, and they don't want to get into individual needs of patients or get into different strains. They just want to make the easy money, because I really don't. I think their love is genetic engineering.
You want genetic engineering all day long, but if you can't make a dollar at it because you don't know how to run a business model by it,
If you can't satisfy 90% of the patients, that's not good either.
No, but
But
they don't want
anyway, the last thing I want to make is I have concerns with the law that, and this is a discussion I had with them, that are you trying to legislate, codify market share, or codify or legislate monopoly? That's my concern.
All right, Rep. Callton, we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for being with us.
Well, this formula is specifically to grow cannabis.
That's Ray Kogo for Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients.
Now, everybody knows that large buds and tight buds come from genetics, and then the amount of light you use. The other part is having the correct nutrients that the plant's going to use. Mine specifically to grow cannabis, so it's going to get everything that it needs.
Ray knows what you may not. Those nutrient companies you can get in most grow shops are not cannabis specific. That means they take the stuff out of the bloom that your plant needs in bloom. You can get Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients too. It's just 2 1-gallon jugs that make over 600 gallons of nutrients, all for less than $100. See the difference for yourself.
More trichomes, bigger buds, faster growth, and for less money.
Go to CANNABISformula.com or call Ray direct at 517-375-8998. That's 517-375-8998. Kogo's Original Cannabis Formula Nutrients. The law offices of Targowski and Grow remind you to stand up for your rights. Always treat law enforcement with respect, but if you're detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search or seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to talk to my attorneys, John Targowski and Daniel Grow. Targowski and Grow have the education and experience you need to be successful in Michigan courts. Call Targowski and Grow toll-free, 800-957-1069. The law offices of Targowski and Grow, 800-957-1069.
When I was young, I knew something was wrong. My mother would forget to pick me up from school.
Drugs and alcohol may make you forget your problems. And more.
Then she remembered something. Me. My mom worked hard to be in recovery. And now she is here for me. Hi, Mom. You ready? Let's go.
For drug and alcohol treatment for you or someone you love, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
1310 WDTW, Detroit's Progressive Talk, the Medical Marijuana Radio Show.
Back on the show, we got about 8 minutes or 9 minutes left in the program. Man, it goes by so quickly, Rep. Irwin. Oops, we got Rep. Irwin on?
You do.
And some sort of good music. What was that music? That was good.
Yeah, that's, I don't have the right piece in front of me. It's off the Billboard Top 11.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked something popular. That's crazy. That's catchy.
At least the top 20. I don't really have the top 20.
You know what, Aaron? Well, you ask.
Oh, go ahead.
Representative Callton was saying, his last comment was, are you legislating a monopoly or are you legislating market share? Was he talking about 5681? That's all I could figure out. I don't know what he was talking about.
I'd hate to speak for Representative Callton, prefer that he do that for himself, but, I think what I interpret his comments as meaning is that, that's something that we need to watch out for with respect to that bill. And, I would certainly agree. I mean, we really don't want to get a situation like the Canadian model here in Michigan. And there's going to be companies, whether they're manufacturers or whether they're testing companies, who are going to come to the legislature and they're going to try to, require that they get a piece of the game. And, I think that'd be a mistake. I think that the folks who put together the current MMRS, one of the things that they did that was really great, and if Rich Thompson's on the phone, thanks to this, is that they put this decentralized, sort of citizen-based model into the act, and I think that's the right way to do it. It does provide certainly a greater diversity and quality of product for the patients, but it also I just think is a better economic model for making sure that there is real competition in that market.
Indeed, but it seems like that particular part of the act didn't get the regulatory support that it needed to continue as much, and now we may need the legislature's help on that, eh?
Well, what kind of help do you think would be...
I think it's going to be important to keep it decentralized. I mean, I think we're going to really need to protect it from overregulation and being... When this act was passed, it had it was the initiated referendum, so it didn't have legislative history. Right. It didn't have committee notes. It didn't have support of half the legislature. It was skeletal. So it didn't have the administrative and regulatory support that a normal law passes with all of the collateral bodies of government on board already and ready to take action. It also passed in a lame duck session of a Democratic administration and then went right into a new Republican. It has since then remained somewhat skeletal. So even though we have the intent of the act that I think a majority of people in the community agree upon, it's very open to attack still by legislators like Senator Snyder who see opportunity to chip away at it. So what I mean is, while I agree with you that some of the act is meant to be decentralized, I think it's going to be up to the legislature to assist in keeping it that way.
Well, the benefit that we have in that regard is that any sort of action that would amend the core of the MMRS requires a 3/4 majority. And, I think that with the work that the community has done and will continue to do and reach out to their legislators, I think that we have an opportunity to affect that conversation in a positive way.
Well, you've certainly taken some meetings at the Home of Medicine and some other places around Ann Arbor. The same place that Representative Callton will be having his fundraiser this evening. Thanks and congratulations to you for the level of involvement you've made in participating in the alteration of this. Can you tell our listeners just a little bit how significant it is when voters go to their representatives, voters go to their senators and actually express themselves? Because oftentimes people lose faith in the desire to do that.
I just can't tell people enough how important it is that they speak directly, if they can, with their legislator. And, if they can send an email, that's good. If they can make a phone call or send a letter to their legislator, letting them know how they feel, that's great. And if they can, in person, have that conversation with their legislator, explain to them how important it is to keep safe and legal access available for patients in Michigan, that can have a big impact. And I think that we just heard that a few minutes ago when Representative Callton was talking about a particular interaction that he had with a constituent who changed his view on what a medical marijuana patient is. And, I think that story from Representative Callton is the best possible way to demonstrate to people how those types of conversations can have an effect on legislators. And, I can speak from experience that I've, learned a whole lot from constituents and residents of other districts who've contacted me and talked with me about this issue and other issues. And I find it incredibly valuable when people, help me do my job by telling me how they feel and giving me information about issues, and they're trying to move me in the direction that they think that I have to be going.
I'm a little nervous that I didn't have Rep. Callton on the phone at the same time when I asked you this favor. And I'm going to ask you this favor. Would you please get with Congressman Amash and support him, tell him that you have statewide support from our community in his effort. He's joined with 18 other congressmen in proposing legislation at the federal level to allow states that have medical marijuana laws to not allow, or to allow a defense in court, in federal court over this issue.
Affirmative defense, yes.
It's the Fairness in Trials Act or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a good bill, and I think that that's the kind of thing that maybe myself or others from this area need to, try to let Congressman Gingrich know about and get him to pay some attention to it. It sounds like Representative Walsh is doing a good thing, and he's a king of character. He's all over the map and has these very libertarian views that sometimes cause him to do things that make him want to cheer, and sometimes causes him to do things that make him want to
He's registered as a Republican, but boy, he sure doesn't act like it sometimes.
I'll tell you what, that libertarian view is becoming more and more popular since the Citizens United case.
That's exactly right.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people are very interested in seeing states hold on to what little independence we have.
The inside line on this bill is that it's dead right now, and that they're looking at 2013 to pass this. But it needs support, and I think there's some interim time here to gain that support, and I'm willing to do whatever
the entire Michigan delegation.
Yeah, because the less that prosecutors have with this group of people to make a fodder of in court, the better.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a sad and horrible proposition to think that we would be spending a huge amount of public money on locking people up for smoking marijuana at all, especially if these people are legal patients and they have a medical need for the substance. That makes it even worse.
I would say, go ahead.
Yeah. I think the opportunity now is to try to get some of the legislators in Congress who are running for office to take a position on this bill. You know, right here in Southeast Michigan, we've got contested primaries for Congress, and really, election time is a great time to reach out to your elected officials who are seeking their vote this fall and ask them how they feel about the issues you care about and make them take a stand.
Please support police with tax dollars and not forfeit your funds where they haven't had the prosecutor even make an accusation.
All right.
Thank you so much, Rep. Irwin, for being on the program. We look forward to talking to you sometime again, and we thank you for your support for this community and for your information here today. We love you for that.
Thanks for Callton being on the show.
I appreciate it.
All right, so we'll talk to you next time on the Medical Marijuana Radio Show. Thank you.
The Medical Marijuana Radio Show at RadioWeedShow.com are trademarks. Copyright 2011.
The comments, ideas, and opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the show participants only. Nothing stated in this program reflects the ideas, opinions, or beliefs of this radio station. This is Detroit's Progressive Talk, 1310 WDTW, Dearborn, Detroit. Listen 24 hours a day on iHeartRadio. The following letter was written by Petty Officer Eric C., U.S. Navy Reserve.
Thank you for all your support. As we endure some of the toughest times in our lives, it's comforting to know that you are here, alongside us in spirit. It gives me a sense of pride that can't be explained, only felt. And I would have never felt it had it not been for all of you.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S.